could ask David Marriner to come forward and share a vision. He had a lot of courage in doing what he did in acquiring the property. I've been talking to a lot of what he's planning to do, and I have to say I'm incredibly enthusiastic about it. I've given my absolute support making it happen, because if we make this happen, I tell you what, we will be absolutely humming. And so I'll pass on to David, if I could, please, and share your vision.
And my wife and I are very privileged to be able to host the evening and to set out a journey of trying to assist the knowledge or the education of what we're trying to achieve at the Mirage. Fair to say, we drew on part of our organisation, which is very much linked to the arts and theatre world, because it's our view that there is a level of sophistication within the fabric of this community that lends itself to be capitalised in a little more sophisticated way than perhaps you would tackle other markets. And I think that's what really motivated us, that we could look at the fabric of this township and this particular asset and see how we could perhaps complement from our skill base to re-engineer this property. I think what's very important is that we see this property structurally very strong. We see the opportunity that it needs a caring and sense of ownership. It actually needs to be brought back in a way that is thoughtfully refurbished, that's acceptable in the marketplace today, and what a five-star experience would look to accept. And what was interesting to me was we did some research on the brand Mirage, and still to this day, we think about it as a very much a superior brand in the marketplace. We see it as a five-star signature, and when we all know it's very tight and doesn't deserve to carry that sort of standing in the current position that it sits. But what was remarkable when we went down this path, we realised that we could save this brand. We could actually do something with this brand. Unfortunately, as Joe and yourself and Warren have expressed, the tiredness of the asset currently, our job's very difficult because it has been raped over the years. There's been very little reinvestment back in the asset, so we're starting off at a very low base. So we thought that we would actually try and capitalise on what we believe Port Douglas has as a natural asset, and that is that sort of artistic, cultural, art sort of fabric. And in that journey, you'll see here, we've incorporated an outdoor performance space, an amphitheatre arrangement that connects this infrastructure with the new exposition building that we're providing here tonight. And we're actually positioning it with a direct attempt to avoid the word conference convention and the hard way of framing a meeting place. Obviously, we're building on this sense of arrival, one of these grand boulevards that come about by capitalising on the infrastructure of the palms, all of the early works of the skates and the team in the earlier years, creating this great sense of arrival. We think this is a solid signature that we should try and capitalise on, because we actually have it at no cost. So we can add that to the value of the journey. So this is coming up the drive to the entrance, breaking off where where you backdrop down around into the what is somewhat tied car park area of the existing property, down into the retail area, and breaking off at about the same driveway that takes you into the back of house areas here to the existing building. So this is actually looking north down into the physical building, which is known as the exposition building. That's actually looking back from the golf course into the building. So it's sort of standing out on the golf course, looking back in, so sort of looking back into the building. The building has got grand veranda spaces that break out, so it's this classic modern approach to the grand sort of tradition of verandas that tends to be a signature of buildings in the tropics. This space here sits between here and the main building. If people know of the existing, what I like to loosely call the outdated tent or the marquee, that serves the building very well, but to be blunt, we can never expect to win back corporate markets here to give the sustainability to the jobs here if we leave this tent-like type structure to try and service the conference convention industry. It borders, quite frankly, on being a joke. So exactly where that exists now, this frame and space that seats 500 people, as you can see, that earthy tones that sits back into the structure of the building, that is actually compressed earth. And we're using a compressed earth detail in creating wings and structural elements of the back of the amphitheatre, basically for its acoustic qualities and because of its ability to sit within the landscape. This particular shot shows how we pick up the existing driveway, create the VIP drop-off area, 1,450 odd seats in banquet style, a building that is a smart technology building which actually can frame itself depending on the demands the user requires. We have currently an energy cost in this building of about 1.3 million a year. That's completely unsustainable going forward. So we're currently doing a very aggressive energy audit on the building, and in planning new buildings we're looking to see how we can complement and reduce and be smart about using natural energy such as the sun. So this one highlights the 16 acres of pools, and this is one of the great assets for what we're talking about international markets, the ability to work, play, eat and swim and walk the beach. Very rare is that opportunity available to the meetings industry. Certainly doesn't exist in this country. I thought I'd do this today so we'd be completely transparent to what I put forward in Canberra. And what we've put forward, as you can see, we're out there talking with federal government about making contributions to what we call our public infrastructure, and this is in fact a $6 million contribution after we are effectively halfway through the construction. A second payment 21 days after practical completion, and the third payment only comes into play after we've triggered and achieved the 3 data points or the hurdles that are part of our long-term agreement. So they contribute $18 million roughly over a 5-year period. From my point of view, the key community benefits and government benefits that spin off as a result of this is the community actually get free access to the infrastructure over 12 days a year. So every month there's an access to the facility at no cost to, if it's a non-profitable organisation in the community that may be hosting charitable initiatives. So I think the other key points that are worth mentioning is that the government's security of tenure, we grant a nominal 20-year lease for all that land that you see here for $20. So for $1 a year, they secure 20 years of tenure to the property, effectively at no cost. That land is provided in an unencumbered form, and we allow the government to take a first registered charge to protect the life of their lease and our commitments to the community. So if we breach or fail to perform, we lose $10 million, we lose all of our land, and the government retrieve the infrastructure in full. We will spend $40 million of our own money to refurbish this asset. because we know with this infrastructure and this initiative, we will achieve the sort of numbers that we've put up on this board. So we will concurrently undertake a major refurbishment, a major reinstatement of this asset to bring it back to what the market would expect. So it's my personal view that that's a winner for everybody in this town that's in tourism particularly, or in the service industry, and I'm sure it's going to make a significant impact to the unemployment of the town, which we all know and appreciate is pretty unacceptable at the levels it's at.